Stanley Cup playoffs, people. Sam and I are in the room. We got Game 6 of the Stanley Cup playoffs going on in the background. So if we get distracted and freak out about some hockey stuff at some point, that's why. Anyway, we're almost agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out all the cool stuff going on right there. Hollerboo 24, October 26th. Sign up for your Soapbox Derby car and get to build them because it's coming quick. Yeah, I had Becky Massey earlier this week. I finished the Republican primary for District 6 at least. Very interesting conversation with Becky. I always like having Becky on the show. It's weird talking to incumbents, though, but we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. I don't know. I'm going on vacation. We're leaving early tomorrow, so I'm going to stay a little less saucy than normal. I don't want to drive 6 hours to hang up. So, anyway, we're almost here, everybody. We're going to do a show. Me and Sam, hockey, quitting jobs, all sorts of cool stuff going on today. It's been great. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
What's happening?
No, not much.
What's new with you?
I'm unemployed.
Woo! Something new. He said there's something new. Take note, people. The 21st of June, 2024, Sam says there's something new at the beginning of the show. We'll leave it at that and move on to other topics. Just wanted to get that out there and out of the way in the front end. So congratulations, Sam, on quitting a job that you were tired of doing. Or getting unemployed. I don't know, whatever you want to call that. I don't know anything new and exciting happened this week. I did reach out to our good friend Randy Pace on the topic of New Jersey politiboss action, and he did mention that he had some run-ins with him and or his surrogates in time from time to time. Something about let me see if I told him it was going on the record, so I don't feel bad quoting him. Where did he go here? Here we go. He said, Phil George and Donald Norcross are the poster children for all that is New Jersey politics. Their roots go back to the Tammany Hall days. They bring a whole new meaning to political corruption. The worst part is people just like them are in every state. Tennesseans know them as the Haslams. I had a few rounds with the Norcross Syndicate while living in New Jersey. Chris Christie, who owed the governor's seat to him, tried taking shots at me because I fired Parker McKay, but he quickly backed off when he found out that I had the details of that arrangement. So, whatever that means by the details of that arrangement,
Interessant.
Randy had some maybe this whole Norcross thing that's going on right now could have happened 20 years ago when Randy was the mayor of whatever town in New Jersey, if he would have brought that to light instead of holding on to it. It's the way he described it to me. Huh. So, but he did say there's a couple of different you can go to. There's a Philadelphia newspaper that he referenced, Philadelphia Inquirer, NewJersey.com, NJ.com, and InsiderNJ.com. You can find some different news articles, a few editorials that he wrote back in the day on the topic as well. So if you want to look up Randy Pace's editorials on NJ.com, you can find some more stuff there on that. So our local connection to New Jersey politiboss George Norcross has been sussed out.
Nice.
I mean, to be fair, like six times out of 10 when I say I'll text somebody or I'll call somebody when we have questions about something, I actually bother to do so.
Right.
But when I do and they respond, I'm gonna bring it back onto the show. I do need to.
I just had the curiosity. I was like, I wonder.
I do need to correct the record. Chris Davis, keep running, keep working out, man. Keep powering through your workout today while you're doing this. But thank you for the email correcting me and Compass for both miscategorizing the individual who got purged from the voter rolls as far as that District 9 conversation we had a couple weeks ago. The one person, the one actual ineligible signature he'd had. Remember we talked about that?
Right.
So to correct the record on that, they were not purged from lack of voting. One of the other reasons cited, and he gave the whole Tennessee code annotated like Chris Davis likes to do whenever he issues corrections to me, which he does that a lot. But I do feel good about myself because he corrected me. He said, well, let me find it. quote. Where'd he go? Quote from Chris Davis. I want to provide a point of clarification to both of you, referencing me and Jesse from Compass, after listening to your respective podcasts. Yes. I'm just excited that people listen to the podcast. That's all I wanted to say.
We got one.
I got Chris Davis. He's in my corner. You need to retire, Chris Davis, because I think he would be a fantastically fun pundit. I think he'd be fun if he didn't have to. The handful of times I've had him on the show, it seems fairly obvious that he has some political opinions on certain things and certain topics that he chooses for his profession to keep to himself.
Right.
Which is good. Good for him. It's his job. He needs to do so.
Right.
But I also feel like he's a smart dude, and he's been around and seen a lot of things, and I'd really be interested to hear him talk. Like, be honest with me, man. Right. Tell me all about it.
Take the robes off for a second.
Yeah. Let's just maybe I'll get a voice modulator in here, and I can do a show with not Chris Davis, and it'll be like, hey guys, hello, my name is not Chris Davis.
Disc Kravis.
That would be a fun way, something like that. So there's so that correction. I had to go ahead and get that out of there. My worst fears continue to come true as far as the University of Tennessee growing out of control and the city and county having not only no means to do anything to stop them, but seem to be encouraging it to boot. Two new ones that happened that you'll hear more about next week. The UT Board of Trustees meeting is next week, where it's a voting meeting where they vote on a couple of different items. One of those is going to be approving the lease of the something Knox rail depot right there. Not like so. Old City train tracks on the other side of the Old City where Regis. It's now Regis Plaza or whatever. That old train building, that old train station that's right there. Yeah. UT Art and Architecture is going to lease that for some number of years for classes and offices and lab rooms for, I don't know, building stuff, I guess. I don't know exactly what they're doing. But, UT at Art and Architecture students will be commuting through downtown Knoxville to go to class at this place.
Right.
And then also, one of the things they're apparently voting on is that in one of the new 8-story multi-use buildings going on the Strip, the University of Tennessee is planning on leasing the ground floor to put a cafeteria in. And this is the one that really bothers me, because this is the one where it gets more, I think it's a little bit more egregious in the company town shit that I like to bitch about. Because basically it's going to be a restaurant. So it's basically so now if you're Zaxby's or McDonald's or any of the other restaurants that are on the Strip, now not only do you have to compete with the other restaurants on the Strip, you have to compete with a UT food service complex that doesn't have to do anything weird, doesn't have to take regular money, because most of those students will go in there and they'll use their food plan that they get as students to buy their food instead of using real money or the Vol Bucks thing that they did a couple of years back, which was a way for parents to buy funding so the kids could go out and eat off campus.
Right.
So
didn't they have that before?
The Vol Bucks thing, yeah. But not this won't take Vol Bucks. That's a different animal.
I thought there was like some kind of like half-ass Chick-fil-A that when you were going there.
There's a Chick-fil-A in Presidential Courtyard back then, or in the Presidential Food Court back in the day.
Was it straight up open to the public, or was it?
Yeah, I think you could go and just spend money. I think you could go put dollar bills in and they'd take them. But you could buy in your food plate as well.
I know the general public could use it, but I would say 98% of the time that was strictly just UT students, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
It's also, that was in the middle of the Presidential Courtyard, which is all housing, dorm rooms and stuff like that. It wasn't on a city commercial thoroughfare physically off campus next to a regular McDonald's and a regular Chick-fil-A and a
But it's at the
cookout.
bottom of a residential building as well?
No, I mean it's an apartment complex that's going to be aimed at students, but it's a private apartment building. If the apartment complex chooses to only allow students to live there, that's up to them, but they're not restricted to only allow students to live there by law or anything, or ownership.
But it's probably going to be mostly students
That eat there? And live there?
That live in the building, yes.
Sure. But I mean, okay. I don't, whatever, fine. Yes. No, okay. Yes, probably mostly students that live there, yes. It's probably mostly students that eat at Zaxby's and frequent that cookout and other things like that, too, that are on the Strip. But I don't. What's the point of the... Mostly students are going to be living in all those housing complexes.
Okay.
What does that make a difference? I don't understand why that is an important point.
Is this unfair competition? I'm assuming that's the road you were going down.
I mean, that's part of my complaint on it. Yes.
Is the food provided there like subsidized? Is it cheaper?
I don't know. I mean, it's functionally probably not. It's probably about the same price as whatever similar chicken sandwich at Zaxby's comparably.
Okay. I'm not really seeing the egregiousness in this. Okay. This is the most egregious of your two examples here.
Sure.
Help me understand why.
The egregious is that it's an expansion. It's an expansion into, like, okay, food service on campus. Okay, fine. Campus provides that as part of their atmosphere. Makes total sense to me. Sure, whatever.
How much do they really, though? Are there that many like dining halls and areas?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, but
yeah, most at my like I lived in Presidential for 2 years. Presidential was Reese Hall, the Carrick building, and forgot the other one across the courtyard. So it was 3 buildings. There were 6 or 7 stories. Carrick was like 8 or 9. There were a lot of kids. I mean, it was 2 to a room, 4 to a suite.
I'm asking about the restaurants,
but like that
or eateries.
That cafeteria, whatever complex that was in the middle of the courtyard, serviced those 3 and one other dorm room that was right on the other side of North Carrick. But the other like pockets of dorms all have their own cafeterias of some way, shape, or form. Yes, maybe not each individual
what kind of cafeterias
dorm.
Do they have, or did they have? I guess that you knew of.
I mean, when I was there, it was this like little 2-parter thing. One was more of like a cafeteria, and it was kind of like a buffet kind of deal. You went and swiped your card and got charged whatever they charged for dinner or lunch, whichever time of day it was.
It was all you can eat, or
yeah, and you went through the line and. But it was a plate, like it was everything was on a plate already, and so you'd grab a plate and put it on your tray. Like it wasn't like you're scooping stuff.
Oh, okay.
It was it was like a square of mac and cheese already cut out of the thing on a plate. You grab a plate of mac and cheese, grab a plate of fries, you grab a plate with a chicken sandwich on it.
You were limited to like 1 plate apiece, I guess, or 1 plate per person.
I don't remember. No, I think you could go fill your tray and then go back through. I think it was you paid to get in basically, so it was buffet style. Yes.
Gotcha.
And then in the same building, there was a second one, and it had a Pizza Hut and a Chick-fil-A. And something else, and that was more like
retail, I guess.
That was more like So like you'd go through the line and you'd pick out like I'd do it a lot. I'd get a Chick-fil-A like an 8-piece nugget and a Pizza Hut breadsticks. I put that on my tray. But then when you go through the line to check out, and they say you got this and this that costs this that much, and they'd add it up, and so. And again, my recollection of the food service. Like part of the thing is I think if you lived on campus or off campus, there was different rates for stuff. But basically it was basically just a savings account. Generally speaking, it was that you or your parents would put $300 in for the semester, and you go buy food. And then there's a couple little convenience store snack areas that would take the card as well, and it was on your student ID. Like that was the card.
All right.
But. And so the different res hall sections had different versions of different things, but it was basically there was a Starbucks in the library, and you could use your dining card for to get a Starbucks coffee, but it was generally you just had a total sum, and it counted off every time you used it. But again, it's like, okay, well, I'm a freshman and I live in Reese Hall. I want to go down to the Strip. I can now go to an R-Mark restaurant, which is a UT restaurant, and use my dining card and not have to use real money at real places. So, yes, there is a little bit of a competitive advantage. There's a little bit of a competitive advantage in that, given that most restaurants and stuff down there, they target 2 people. They target people that are at the hospital, and they target people that are students. So they lose half of their, probably 80% of their potential clientele. Not lose per se, but it's a harder sell to get, I would say, now that they have an option to use their school card instead of real money.
I may be curious. I don't know if you can find the metrics of how many kids actually have, that kind of prepaid debit card system.
I would think if you're living on campus, I'd say almost all of them do.
Think so?
Yeah, because how do you eat otherwise? You can go to the grocery store and buy some stuff, but you don't have a lot of options.
Eat? I mean, they have debit cards and credit cards.
Sure, but that goes in with a boatload of other issues that go along with being a student who lives on campus, like getting off campus. How do you get to a grocery store? Because there are no grocery stores down there. The Publix is still down there now, I guess.
This is outside the grocery store.
But right, or you go right.
On, somebody that wants to get something to eat. They
have a credit card, or they have cash that their parents left them, or whatever. Yes.
I don't know. I guess I'm just failing to see the egregiousness of this.
Okay. I mean, like to me,
is it any different than another just retail restaurant popping up on the strip?
Yes.
How is it different?
It for first and foremost, it takes that money.
Okay.
It takes that particular. It has access to a particular pool of money that the other restaurants on the strip don't have.
Okay.
That would be the first one. It's the second one of it being. I would assume that there is a mountain of at least. Marketing might be an overstatement for what it would be happening, but at least like as a freshman on campus, you get a big packet of stuff when you move in. Dining halls and locations of dining halls and campus maps and stuff like that are one of them. And so a place off campus will be listed as a place you can go and use your card. So there's a little bit of indirect marketing for that service. I mean, I assume, I'd be curious. I don't know. I'm sure there is some data out there, but I'd be curious to know what the margins are. Because I mean, I'd be curious, like, because Armark doesn't lease it, UT leases it, and then they contract Armark to do the food service.
All right.
And so
staff it. Yeah.
Right. And so I'd be curious exactly how the finances work at a company that's in that format. Like, because for Armark's sake. Do they get paid more for more food sales, or do they get paid more? Or they get paid the same whether they have 10,000 items run through or 5,000 items run through? Because if their contract is just to manage the food that's there and have it staffed with people,
I'm assuming they're probably just paid to just manage and staff it, and then Aramark, gets to make more money on their end if they sell more product.
I'd be curious what the profit motive is for Aramark and how that works. Because if it's just contract, you have to have a certain number of people on at a certain time. Blah 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 blah. You go back and forth and say, okay, well, it's going to cost me this much for labor. Blah, blah, blah. Here's the contract price.
You're using a major staffing company to operate something that you don't want to pay people to do because like you kind of alluded to, that there is that potential of if there aren't enough people coming in. That's
sure.
where. It's in Aramark's best interest to sell as much as they can, however they can.
Or the inverse is if they're getting paid the same either way, then what's their motivation to do anything well? And from a consumer standpoint, what's in it? Like, how do we get good product and service out of them if that's not how they're set up?
I would assume that negotiation was probably set up to where Aramark couldn't just sit on their hands and rake in a fat check. I would just be like, I don't give a fuck if people come in or not.
I would hope that is the case. I would
assume both sides would. Have made sure.
I would be curious to know that for a fact. I'm not saying I would assume that there is something like that in place too, or I would hope there is. I guess I don't know.
Some kind of sliding scale that UT gets a certain percentage of it, and then Aramark gets the rest or whatever. Right. To where
I guess
both are incentivized to have a good number of people coming through there.
Right, and I guess the saving grace on both of these that are the anti-egregious parts of these things is that since they are leasing somebody else's property, those properties will still pay property tax to the city of Knoxville. So there's one win.
Sure.
But those properties are going to pay city property tax to the city of Knoxville either way, so it doesn't matter whether they're going to be more capable of paying it over a longer period of time if they have tenants, but chicken or the egg, they still got to pay that property tax. Now, I don't know our mark and or I don't know. There is a separate little subset because you pay a tangible property tax in the city of Knoxville as well. And tangible property, like, is your oven. Like at a restaurant, it's your tables, your chairs, your bar, your glassware, your dishwasher, your ovens, your fryers, all that stuff. There's a property tax that goes on that as well. I don't know if our mark owns those or if the University of Tennessee owns those in this situation. And if so, do they pay property tax on those?
I mean, what little knowledge I know, I know you have a friend that had better knowledge in that, and maybe they divested equipment into a separate business structure.
Well, but the only question is which business, like, who owns the equipment matters in this conversation for tax purposes, right. Not for liability protection's sake, but for tax purposes. For property tax purposes, if the University of Tennessee owns that equipment, I don't think they would pay property tax on it.
Maybe they rent it.
And then
I don't think the University of Tennessee would provide said straight up facilities to for the company they're paying to manage. Like, hey, we bought the ovens and the coolers and everything else. We guys just run it.
I would assume,
unless
I would assume
some kind of write off on it.
I would assume that, like in Nayland, for example, all the concession stands, all the equipment, coolers, refrigerators, kegerators now, and all that kind of stuff, the university owns.
I don't know. In your business, the coolers you have, do you guys own them?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought some of those.
Some people rent stuff, but we don't.
Well, no, it would be like the vendor that kind of gives it to you. We got
right, and you might be right. Some of the Coke coolers might be provided by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola does do that with certain parts of stuff. And I don't know. I'd have to talk to the property assessor on if they count vendor provided as part of our property tax, or if that goes against Coca-Cola's property tax at their facility.
Yeah.
Or if it goes against Coca-Cola in whatever county or city or municipality it's in. This piece of equipment is in Lenoir City. It goes to the Loudoun County property assessor to get that and then get that money from Coke. I don't know. That's a good question.
Sorry to start off on a boring tangent.
No, it's the company town thing that I'm complaining about. And this is one of those things. I talked to Becky about it. If you guys haven't listened to the Becky Massey show, I tried to stay on campaign. I tried not to go into, because every time I have Becky, I've got to put a request or two of issues that I want to see. And I said, and you ready for this? There were two things I talked to Becky about. So mass transit, both local and intrastate.
I heard that.
So those, I talked to Becky about getting us a train from here to Nashville. She said, I would love to have a train from here to Nashville. I got to drive that road so many times. Right. It would be great to not have to drive it. I could get some work done on my way. And then
quoted her verbatim down here.
And then light rail here in town is a conversation. And whether what steps would need to take to get the state to pitch in to assist on that. She is the chair of the Transportation Committee in the State Senate, so it is in her wheelhouse to say. But then I also asked her, what can we do to slow down the ridiculous growth that's going on at the University of Tennessee? And she is such a pro that she didn't answer that question for me at all. And then she also finished not answering that question and then ended the show for me. So you did listen to it?
The beginning, and then you mentioned there was something that she did in the end, and I was like, hey, what? Now I realize that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, she basically
got the first maybe 15 minutes, and then the last probably 15 minutes.
Yeah, so she finished talking. She finished on something, and then she just immediately went into, "It was really great to be here," and I was like, "Oh, I guess we're done," which was fine. I was like, that was probably going to be the next thing out of my mouth anyway, because we needed it. We were at the hour mark anyway, and she has a million things to do, which isn't sit here and. I said in the show to her, I was like, we could do 6 hours. I guarantee you I could sit and talk to her for 6 hours about all the stuff.
Yeah.
Because I complained to her a little bit about the state website, and she defends it a little bit, but I was like, Becky, you got to remember, you know how it works. Not the website, but you know how the process works, and so you know where you're looking and what you're looking at. Yeah. When it drops into subcommittee and it's on, it's tabled for discussion and this, that, and the other. You know what all those phrases and terms mean, and you know the speed and the timing of those things. It's like I can't. There's stuff that I'm following closely, and I don't know where it is until all of a sudden it's at a floor vote.
I know we've looked at a couple to where the summary of it,
and not even
doesn't really talk about anything that's actually in the bill.
Right. I complained to her about that as well.
There's still a full text in there somewhere. But I don't know how quickly it's updated to whenever they add.
Yeah,
certain.
I did complain to her about caption bills, as they call them.
Captions. Is that when they add like a little amendment?
That's where they no caption bills where they just literally, as long as it's inside the department, you basically say like I'm a potential change to Department of Ag rules on this. And I write that because the deadline to submit bills is like in December before session starts. And so once that deadline passes, you can't submit a new bill from scratch.
Right.
And so a caption bill is basically a placeholder.
Speaking of which, I swear I've seen like some bills that the summary say it's one thing, but then I hear them like discussing it and they're talking about like other things that I don't know if it's just issues that could be involved in it, but it sounds like it's issues that are part of this bill that I don't see listed in it whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. And then, it's just
like why are you guys arguing about this? Like, I don't see how what you're arguing about is involved in this bill. Like,
well, and that's
did I miss something I'm not reading?
Sure, but that's the other part of things too. Like, if you guys watch the county commission meeting or pre-meeting, they changed their way they're doing their meetings and stuff like that. But there was a big, long conversation about approving the capital expenditure for county roads. Right, it's already in the budget. The budget's already passed, and so it's just specifically saying, okay, we are approving this much. We've already approved that we're going to spend this much in the budget. Now we're assigning that budget spent. We're assigning that into the budget and who's going to do it and all that kind of stuff. And so there was really just discussion about it. They weren't actually voting on approving or not approving it at the time. But Larson, who is going to be running for mayor, or is already running for mayor and for the 26th cycle, basically was like he just went on this whole big laundry list discussion about how we're on like an 80-year cycle of county roads at this point. With the budget amount we're spending per year and the cost per mile and blah, 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 blah. It's going to be like if your road was paved yesterday in front of your house, you'll be lucky if 80 years from now it'll get repaved. In the cycle.
As far as like the backlog of?
Yeah, well, just in this
standard
in this
how
cycle
long it should take.
No, like how long? Like I don't know how long a road lasts, quote unquote, after construction if it's built well.
Right.
But like I don't think it's 80 years. I think it's like 25, 30 years.
Whoa.
For a complete repave, outside of patching. This isn't patching. This would be tearing it up, put a new road down. I'd say it's at least 25 to 50 years.
I mean, I think they've done North Shore maybe every like 10 years, maybe.
Sure, and I think, but you're right, and that depends on traffic too. Obviously, North Shore, but North Shore is a state road. That's a different budget. It's a different conversation.
Right.
Like we're talking about unincorporated county roads in Knox County. So like my street, your parents' street.
I think Evans Ridge has been done a couple times. Because it's funny, I didn't realize it till, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months ago. There used to be going down Evans Ridge, you had the rubble strips right in the middle.
Oh, they're gone?
Yeah, I think they're gone for the most part.
The neighborhood over here, the Tools' mom's house lived in when we were in high school, they just repaved that neighborhood, and they haven't put the speed bump backs up. I much prefer driving through that neighborhood now.
I haven't been through there in a while then.
Yeah, they just did it right.
They weren't there for the longest time, and I'll admit it did allow you to drive a little fast.
And it's a way to cut corners, go in different directions. Like you can cut through that neighborhood to get a lot of places,
right?
Or to get through a lot of places, or to avoid certain streets or whatever. But yeah, they don't have the speed bumps back up yet. They just finished repaving a week ago, so you can haul booty through that neighborhood now
for a little bit until they put them back up.
Yeah, for now. Yeah, I'm assuming they're going to put it back up, but I don't know. Like I remember talking to somebody about it a couple of campaign cycles ago. I think it was Lauren Ryder was talking about it. It's like, it's one of those things. A lot of neighborhoods and a lot of people when they are approaching city councilors is one of the things they ask for. A lot of people ask for speed bumps. They want speed bumps in the neighborhood. People speed through the neighborhood. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
And so apparently one of the things the city said that they were doing is that they're not like, as far as adding new speed bumps to the roster, they don't do anymore. It's if it's a neighborhood that they say they want to put speed bumps in that don't have them, when that neighborhood or roadway is up for a repave, they do the speed bumps with the repave. Is what they were telling me. That's because it's a way to make it cheaper because the equipment and stuff's already all there. So it's instead of having to bring the equipment out just to do speed bumps, you have the equipment out, repave the road, do the speed bumps, and get out. But that's the thing. So Larson's trying to make the point. I think what it seems to be, like what I take out of watching that and reading on the Compass Guys coverage of that, the real takeaway from that is Larson's trying to lay the groundwork for the inevitable tax increase that the county has to put on. And he's trying to lay that groundwork now so that he doesn't have to run on it when he's trying to run for mayor, because it's going to be a hard ticket to sell as mayor.
I know there's like the rubberized ones that basically like just bolt into it. I mean, they're much shorter, so it's not that kind of like soft speed bump.
They're not humps, they're bumps.
Right, yeah, it's straight up bump. But quickly, for people to go over it often enough, quickly
break down. Right. So, yeah, I don't know.
There's a couple like YouTube channels that I've seen that are like people's like ring cameras or whatever that are just focused on like an area that people
annihilating
like to speed and just don't know about that speed bump. And yeah, you see lots of sparks flying.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would like some speed. Like what's funny is like the only place I really, really, really want speed bumps is I want them out there in front of the central location. People haul ass. Like, so we did. There was a beautiful couple.
Sorry, never mind. I don't want to go down that road.
There's a what?
Nothing. Sorry, continue.
There's a couple years ago, the city had done a streetscape beautification project. They got some grant from the federal government or something like that to do it, and so they put this nice median in, and they have all these plants and planter boxes and stuff out, but it's only for half a block, and so you have this weird, like what should be a pretty steady thoroughfare that all of a sudden gets really narrow. People don't slow down for the really narrow part, and that's what gets dicey about it.
What's dicey about it?
Because people haul ass through there, and that's where people are crossing the street. And since it's pretty and there's bushes and trees and stuff, it's harder to see as either one, the pedestrian or the driver. And people are dumb. Like, they open their doors when buses are trying to drive by and when they're parking in a parallel spot. That's a funny story. But it looked to me like the guy opened his door as the bus was driving by. It's like, I don't know who's at fault. How's that work?
Yeah, I don't know the legalities in that.
Like, I like the parallel spots. Everybody calls me crazy. Like, I'm begging for some body work to get done on my car. Is what they all joke about. Like, you want to lose your car to the body shop for a month? It's like, no. Then why would you park in the parallel spots? It's like, I don't know. Because I can see out the window and see my car and don't have to worry about bums pulling handles, which they'd do it in the parallel spots too, actually. I had a guy walk all the way around, pulled every handle on my 4Runner one day, yeah. And then when I opened the door just to look at him to make sure he knew that I saw him trying to get into that vehicle, whether he knew it was mine or not, he looked at me for a second and then like took 2 steps up the street and just started cussing at the sky. We have a couple of those down there that'll just like you can hear him a block away, just fuck, just fucking yelling all sorts of random shit at nothing. And then they'll stop and look at something, walk a few more steps, and then just start yelling at stuff again.
See, I have my keys on me. I should hit my panic alarm just to fuck with them. Like, I hope your eardrums like this, bitch.
I mean, I think we've become so desensitized that as a populace anymore. Like, I hear a car alarm going off in a
oh, totally
in a parking lot. I think, you idiot, you didn't turn your alarm off before you opened the door. Come on, man.
Oh no, this is specifically for like the one guy that's.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it's just such a funny
car. It's like, all right, you hear the horn. Like, I hope this like makes your ears ring for at least a few seconds.
If you're gangster enough, you just pretend like it's, I forgot my keys. Because everybody will look away, like everybody will be like, oh, okay. I would think. But, yeah, so that's the paving thing happened at County. Riverfront Tower. Oh,
it's crazy they would admit that they're that far behind on, I guess, just like routine maintenance.
Well, it's far behind is relative to, I mean, it's just a relative term. Like, there are like
no, I'm sorry. There are no roads in this county that are designed to last 80 years, like they're saying.
Sure, but there's nothing's written into any state or county or local statute or anything that says we will replace roads or when they get to a certain, like, so you're not behind in the sense that
they replace them when needed.
Right.
But I think it's out of the realm of fucking possibility that any road in this county
I think
80 years.
I think Larson's point in bringing it up and making the point on this particular topic is that the county budget is unsustainable. That's really, I think, the moral of the story is the county budget is unsustainable. We cannot, like...
And just transportation-wise?
No, just the county budget at large, with the requirements on the county to pay for schools, in the way that that whole funding back and forth crazy model works. All of that stuff being the way it's already set up, everything, there's so much stuff that the county is committed to, full stop, that there's a lot of stuff that would be quote unquote norms and maintenance, like roads and other stuff, that they can't pay for because they're committed to pay raises for the cops. For the sheriff's department and deputies. They're committed to pay raises for the for other county workers, whether it's parks or municipal employees and judges and clerks and everybody that is a county employee, or so
right, there's a good the schools that goes to pensions as
right well. And then pensions, and so you have like schools, teacher schools and school employee salaries and the guaranteed increases that are going on in there. You have other non-school county employees and their guaranteed pay raises. You have pensions. You have this, that, and the other, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We got some fund loans that were put into place a few administrations ago that we've been paying interest only on, and now the principal is coming due, and so our debt, the county debt service is going up. So the amount the county is paying into paying off loans is going to jump significantly in the next couple of years, and so you take all that with a functionally flat income from property tax. You're not. I mean, you have to bring more income in somewhere, and what's been keeping the county afloat theoretically is the general growth that's gone in the county, and especially in their 2.25% sales tax revenue, even though they only get 20% of the sales tax revenue that comes into the county. So it's a shell game, whatever. But the other cool fun one that I'm excited about. The certificate of appropriateness has been granted to the weird building right there on the corner of Henley Street. Right when you come across the river, so you're coming from the south side up Chapman, turns into Henley Street. You're going across the Henley Street Bridge. Right there on the right side, that cliff. Remember we talked about that building? It's like a 9-story building total, but
is that a brick building?
No, it's gonna be a white, kind of artsy looking something or other. Apparently they split up. One of the things they made some adjustments to after the last meeting is they split up the roof line. So from Henley Street, it's going to look like 3 or 4 different buildings, as far as there's going to be like 3 floors and 4 floors and 5 floors and 6 floors.
Proposed building. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking of the existing building, and I'm like, wait, what?
But it has been approved for appropriateness. And now this developer has the unfortunate want to go and ask for a pilot, which that's going to be a tougher sell. Because that comes into actual politics, and the neighbor's opinion actually matters, where the appropriateness review board or whatever it was, they're kind of more of a technical, does this fit within the framework that we are given? Right. Yes, we have to say yes to this. Just because you live in the building behind that's going to now be behind it and lose your river view, that has nothing to do with us.
Like economical evaluation, right? Right.
It's like, does it because there is no height requirements in the city of Knoxville. Yeah, it's that weird mass. Remember we were talking about the mass of the building matters?
Right.
So anyway.
Why are you shaking your head like that? I've tried to explain it to you. We have sinkholes.
I don't think that's what they. I don't know. I don't think they mean weight when they say mass, but
I mean, especially right there next to the river. I would say the soil closer to the river is much more sandy and softer. Yes.
No.
No,
I wouldn't think right there. I think that is a lot of solid rock. That is that cliff face that goes from Henley Street down to the river level. I'd say on the very bottom, on the little bit of road, the Nayland Drive or whatever it is down there, that base might be a little bit more soft and sandy. But that is pretty solid rock that the city of Knoxville sits on it's on both sides of the river. That's a big fucking granite or
on one side, yeah.
On both sides. The city county building is the same way. That's the thing. City county building is technically 10 stories. It's only 5 floors from the Gay Street level, but it goes off that cliff and goes down. Apparently down in the prison.
I know it's cliffy on the opposite side, the south side, I guess that would be.
Yeah, where
I can't think of like.
It's all.
I've seen like exposed rock.
It's all developed up right here. The only place you could actually catch it is right there on this piece of property that they're doing, because currently it's a little like 15-car parking lot. And it's literally like, like when you're driving through the mountains on the interstate where they cut the walls and they got the chain link fence that they bolt to that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Like you're driving 40, like when you're going through the mountains on 40. And like it's those rock slide zones, and it's like you have that where they blasted the wall off, and they attack. It's like that right there, right now. Like to the point where some of it, like say they smooth out some of the actual stone, and there's graffiti on it. I think it's been a while since I've been through there, but
that's it. Oh, this goes back to what I'm pretty sure was factual, in that years ago, like Neyland Stadium was built over
a hole in the ground.
What's damn near like a sinkhole.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but that's not. I don't think that to go back to the point though. That's not part of the appropriateness. Engineering is not part of the conversation.
Right.
It's design. It's what it looks like. Does it look?
I'm just saying. I'm just going back to the weight thing that you said they were considering.
I'm just saying. Well, mass is the term used, but I don't know that when they use the term mass that they mean weight. Mass can mean weight, but I don't know if that's what they mean in the terminology for this particular thing.
Mass encompasses weight.
Right, but I think what they mean by mass in this conversation is how big is it on this piece of the actual like flat piece of land, quote unquote, that exists. How much building are you squeezing onto that? Are you taking
which would encompass,
which would include weight, sure, but I don't think that's the term. I don't think that's the way they're using the term mass. It's not weight. It is a massive building in that it takes up every square foot of the piece of property that it's going on. And that it's super tall, and it's like the building goes all the way to the edge of the property, so that there's no easement between the building and the edge. I think that's what they mean by mass. It is a massive building in the sense that it takes up all the area it possibly can. That's what I think they mean by that. I don't know. That's a good question. I should ask somebody and see if I can get clarification and see if when they say mass.
I wouldn't think it would matter too much. Because hell, you think it would almost kind of be in their favor to not. Well, I guess not have to have a sidewalk. They're like, oh, you're going to your property line? Cool. We don't have to. There is no easement. There is no like in between of like, hey, this is kind of yours. This is kind of mine.
Right. The sidewalk, the city sidewalk is there, and then it's the street, and there's no conversation otherwise. Right. Which gets into weirdisms that I've had problems with.
Yeah. Jesse put maybe just being too literal, like mass. Yeah, I would think that they're literally, like you said, like how much building is going to be on this square footage of property.
Right. Okay. I think we're agreeing. I'm confused.
We're almost in agreement.
Wonder who came up with that brilliant name of the show.
Because we settled because there was.
Well, because the original name we had for the show, somebody had already owned the URL.
Right. Was that what it was?
Yeah. I can't remember what the original name we were working with though. But when I tried to go and register the website, somebody else already had it. And
I agree to disagree.
Yeah. Something like that. Some group put out a study of abortions that are continuing to happen in Tennessee. They're not in Tennessee proper. How many Tennesseans are getting abortions, and the number hasn't changed.
I thought I saw one story that it had gone up in some areas. I don't recall what it was they were referencing.
I mean, basically, it's
where they were referencing. Sorry.
Right. Basically, it's that when Tennessee did have legal abortions up to whatever the limit was when that was pre-Dobbs decision, Tennessee had gotten up to almost 20,000 a year, and it had before Dobbs it had worked its way down to about 10. And basically, this study that showed that about 10,000 women went to either Illinois, Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina, Georgia. I already said Georgia, South Carolina. I don't know. Went out of state to get them, and so it's like basically the number of abortions didn't change.
I hope nobody helped them do it.
The right to life as well. That was where some of the conversation's going, because the right to lifers here in Tennessee are bragging about we saved 10,000 lives. It's like, no, you haven't. They just didn't die here by your definition. And I'm still stuck on this idea. Did I talk about this last week?
I don't think so.
Came across my brain when talking to Monica Irvine about this is a purely philosophical exercise. Okay, so this is hypothetical, philosophical. Not really. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is a reality argument that I want to make or not, or if this is a hypothetical. If you are a right to life, pro-life, anti-abortion advocate, the exception for the life of the mother doesn't make any sense to me. The more I think about it, how is that like that? What like? If the whole point is that this life will exist, this child life will exist because all the parts and pieces are in place, that no intervention should be taken to take away that life, right? That's the anti-abortion stance.
Yeah.
All right. So any intervention to end that fetal existence is ending a life. So how does it make sense to then argue that except when the mom might die in the process, or except if the mom might die if we don't? Because at that point, you're just choosing which life you care about more. It's not even a question of.
So I guess I'm missing the side of the question.
Well, because even even Monica, who was super anti-abortion when she was in here, except for the life of the mother.
Okay.
So even the most staunch pro-life advocates leave that exception in. Because most people, and I think I was one of them until it kind of hit me while I was talking to her. I think most people don't count that as an exception. They think of that as just the logical conclusion of, well, of course, if this is going to kill the mom, then we need to stop whatever this is, and it doesn't matter what this is. And it got me thinking about it. It's like, well, no, hold on a second. All we're doing is at that point you're just choosing that the mother's life is more valuable than the potential child's life. And that doesn't seem like a logical conclusion if you're against ending lives. Now, I guess the argument could be made that if you can guarantee that both will end, if you don't end one or the other, okay, that's a different conversation. But I think I guess if it's depending on where it is in term, but if it's you're 30 weeks in and it's a viable fetus, but it's some complications happening and it's going to kill the mom, why are you choosing the mom over the baby at that point? It just seems incongruent logically to me from the pro-life perspective. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not sure where I'm not sure where I sit on it personally. I'm just trying to think about just thinking through it out loud with you.
Right.
About, it's like if the argument is that is a life and that life has the right to live, why, if it affects another life, does it then not have the right anymore?
I mean, it then opens up the door to the debate of what is the life of an unborn embryo, fetus, etc.
Well, I don't follow.
As far as
when is its viability without a mom?
Well, I mean, when is it? I guess when is it determined?
Oh, you mean
life?
Viability in general?
Not just necessarily. Yeah, I mean, I guess viability, but when do we want to consider it a personhood, basically?
But I think the right to life, the super anti-abortion crowd says at
conception,
right?
At times, yeah.
And so if that's your argument, then you're 2 weeks pregnant and you have some complication. Why would you abort that? Why would you kill that baby? Because it saves the mother's life. Well, okay, but you're still killing a baby. You're choosing to kill a baby, right? But if we don't, it'll kill the mom. It's like, okay, but if your argument is that that is a human life and we should never kill a human life, you're choosing one human life over another at that point. You're choosing the mother's life over the potential child's life. Now, the viability does become a conversation because if it's 2 weeks, it's not viable no matter what. And so if they're both going to die, you might as well kill one. Like, that's the Sophie's Choice conversation, right? Isn't that the movie or book or whatever? Sophie's Choice
reference, but I'm not familiar with the storyline whatsoever.
Do you remember that episode of MASH? That was a fun one. Whew. Every once in a while, MASH got dark.
I never watched it, but I've definitely heard it referenced. Yeah.
So basically, there's
I heard it more in reference to great podcast I like where they talked about the train experiment.
Right. That's the episode of MASH is that it's a busload of refugees or something like that. They're trying to get out. The bus breaks down or something like that. But it's the North Koreans, I guess, because it's MASH. Yeah. Are nearby. You can hear them in the background, and everybody on the bus is trying to stay super, super quiet so that the enemy can't find them. And there's a mother with a newborn baby on the bus, and the baby starts crying. And I think it's a what was his name? Alan Alda's character? Yeah, Hawkeye. Yeah. This is a flashback that Hawkeye's having because he was on the bus and basically watches this mother kill her baby to save the rest of the bus. Yeah. Which again, that's the I don't know, that's so dark. It's so fucking dark. Yeah. It's a situation that like I couldn't imagine being in, and I couldn't begin to understand the complexity of mind processes that people have to go through when they get in spots where decisions like this have to happen. Right. I certainly wouldn't pretend like I have an understanding of it at all. I'm just trying, again, like that's why I went real hard on the qualifiers at the beginning of this conversation of I want to, this is a hypothetical philosophical question that doesn't make sense on the pro-life argument to me. Because if you're going to say except ever, then you have to be open to more than one except. Like why is one like how do you justify one exception over the other? And this argument is that the life of the mother is more important than the life of the child. And if that's the argument, okay, then make that argument to me. But I don't hear that argument out of them. I did make a joke with Becky, or no, maybe it was Jesse. I made a joke with somebody about it's like, is it because the moms pay taxes? Yeah. I told you it was a joke. But Jesse made fun of my libertarianism a couple times to my face today. Oh. And I had to stand up to him and say, hey, you're in my house.
Hold up, brah.
Well, I think he's similarly and not incorrectly historically has some presumptions about the history of libertarianism as an entity, and I think that's the problem that I have with it. I spent like a couple years ago on here, being like, I'm not going to use the label libertarian anymore. I don't like it because it's not accurate to what I actually functionally philosophically do. It's closest to my philosophy on how government, people, and stuff should interact is closer to libertarianism, but I don't like the label because it comes with all these old stigmas and stuff like that I don't think are accurate to what at least I want out of it.
All right.
Did you hear CNN has functionally excluded RFK from the debates?
Did see that.
Pretty shitty. No?
They set ground rules.
Right. Specifically to make sure.
Is weird, like caveats, and I don't want to say that, it was done, like the timing was done, because I think the story I read today that was mentioning that was like one of the bigger states, California, like doesn't, or
he has the signatures.
Basically, like doesn't have them on the ballot until like mid to late August is when
they don't officially release the who's
candidates or whatever,
right? Yeah. Until a certain date, and it's like, well, he's met all the requirements.
You have to be on the ballot in like 23 states or something like
enough
that.
States to get to 270.
Right.
And so any combination to get there. Like Minnesota's another one that's got a good handful of numbers or whatever. It's the same thing. It's like, well, and especially it's like, what do we know about election commissions? What are they made up of?
People.
What kind of people?
Partisan.
So what incentive does, regardless of their partisan, their left or right leaning in partisanship, what advantage do they have? Like, what incentive do they have to hurry up and get him approved and qualified so that he is officially on their ballot?
So this is that many states in collusion to keep him off the ballot?
Sure. Because I think the one thing that's amazing about RFK as a third party is that it is very unclear who he bothers more. Like, who is he hurting more? Like Perot, at least you had an argument that Perot clearly, dethroned Clinton? No, who was he running?
Bush.
Right, Bush Jr. or Bush Senior. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but not Bush Jr. Sorry. Right, but Perot was there, and it was like the argument was that Perot cost Bush Senior his reelection because policy and functionally and philosophically and all that stuff, it was more likely that Perot. I'm pretty sure it's actually factually and statistically borne out over time that Perot took more Republican votes than he did Democratic votes.
He did, but I don't think it was a close election at all.
I don't know. I mean, Perot ended up with like 15-17% of the total vote. He had a significant.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that much, but
I need to check. But
I mean, Bush Sr. had the war that kind of boosted him, if you want to use that as a metric. But he ran on. A lot of people give him guff. He's like, no new taxes.
Ross Perot got 19% of the total vote, 19.8 million total. Bill Clinton won with 45.
Total popular vote.
Total popular vote. Ross Perot got 0 electoral college votes, obviously. But Herbert Walker got 39 million, and Bill Clinton got 45 million. So it was a $6 million vote swing, which the argument at least, and I think statistically borne out over time, is that of the 20 million Perot got, at least 10 of that was probably Bush votes. And that would have been enough to at least win the popular vote, whether the electoral college vote came along with it. Right. You'd have to get a little deeper into the numbers, which I still think that's been borne out in conversation with people who are dorks on this kind of stuff. Anyway, the moral of the story is I think the unique factor of RFK is it is unclear. Like, there's parts of the RFK campaign that obviously damaged Joe Biden. He's a Kennedy, for fuck's sake. Everybody says Kennedy and they think Democrat, so they think he does Democrat things. But at the same time, he's an anti-vaxxer, and he has a couple other things that he's very much on the Trump team. At least not on the Trump team, but at least people who favor Trump would agree with him on some of the stat points that way. And so to not have him on stage, I think is, because Perot was on stage, and I think he was about in the same spot. I don't know about the Electoral College. I don't know what the rules were for that debate. But I think it's an injustice to us as the populace that that RFK is not on that stage. It'll be a miserable show either way. RFK and his weird voice, 97-year-old Joe Biden, and McDouchebag Trump all yelling at each other for 90 minutes. I mean, that's going to be like the current one. The Biden-Trump one's going to be a shit show, and it's going to suck, and people are going to hate it. And it's certainly not going to be educational or entertaining.
Yeah, I already heard there was a little bit of propaganda going around about it. But.
I mean, on Nightly News tonight, there was a great quote. And I think this guy's he voted for Trump in 2016, did not vote for Trump in 2020. His quote on to whoever from NBC News was, I'm really excited to see this debate, because if Joe Biden can go 90 minutes with no notes and I can't remember what he said, but it was basically like stay lucid and connected and engaged in the conversation and stuff like that. Yeah. That's going to tell me whether or not he can be the president for the next 4 years. So basically, this guy's stance, at least, that was on Nightly News, is that I'm concerned with the mental capacity of Joe Biden. I hate Donald Trump. So if Joe Biden's mental capacity is there, I'll vote for him. Now, whether that means he doesn't vote otherwise, or he votes for Trump, or he votes for RFK is a whole separate conversation.
It is I'm mentioning that, like, I think they literally did like a coin flip to figure out who would be
left or right on the podium.
But I think that also had to do with who was going to be first or last, as far as like speaking.
Oh, topics. Oh,
yeah.
I did see. Sorry.
I think I did see that that Trump was going to be the last, would get the last word. I guess maybe on each topic, or maybe that was just the last word at the very end.
The last word on the first topic. Yeah, that's weird. Like debate. Like
I'm assuming that would go hand in hand. Like, if each question you're going to go to one side then the other,
right, and then respond to and then finish.
Yeah,
but I think, I think I would assume that they're going to alternate at large. So it would be the first question starts with Trump. I'm sorry, the first question starts with Biden and ends with Trump. The second question starts with Trump and ends with Biden. I would think they would alternate questions. So if it's a even or odd number question, I like the no audience thing. I think that's appropriate. I prefer that.
I did see. I guess like. I see something on like Fox News at some point in the past like week or so was trying to say like, oh, the Biden campaign was trying to get it to be a sit down, and they don't want him to be stand up anymore. They're trying to be just sit down only. It's like, no, that's not a thing. Like,
it could be a thing. I don't know.
Where the fuck did you hear this?
I mean, the two debates we have aren't things historically. These two debates that are scheduled are not things historically.
How so?
Because they're not by the whatever the commission to elect the president, whatever thing that usually is the producer.
They like kind of sidestepped him or whatever.
Right. And that we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and there was like this whole kind of argument. At least the argument was that they were doing it because some stuff going on in Ohio, and also the candidates want to get these debates done earlier because so many people are early in mail-in voting that if they wait till the official standard normal debates, people who already have voted and they haven't gotten their chance to see the debates yet. And so this is a whole new thing anyway.
Which I could kind of see. I
don't disagree with that argument either.
Like, the organization that put it on was doing it like a month before the elections. It's a gross exaggeration.
Right? No, they do
it
3.
Seemed like it was a lot closer.
They do 3, but they're like 2 weeks apart, and they start at like late September, early October, and then it's like it's a debate 2 weeks, a debate 2 weeks, a debate, and then election day is like a week later. Most states early voting and mail-in voting. Most states early voting is at least 2 weeks ahead. And so then at least the last debate was going to be after early voting has started. And then most states' mail-in voting starts like 8 weeks ahead. And so the argument from both campaigns agree on this, and I don't disagree with that premise either,
right,
is that to do the debates that late is kind of problematic,
right,
because a lot of people are already voting. That being said, these are not normal debates. So they could be sit-downs. I don't see why that couldn't have been a discussion to have. There's no norm that they're fighting against.
This was an underhanded dig at Biden.
I mean, I would ask...
the Biden camp wants to now have it sit down, and they've asked, so-and-so to have it be a sit-down, and they're like, wait, where did you hear this? What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know who you're referencing, so I don't know I'm not arguing against you at all, because I haven't heard anything on this topic.
I think it was like Jeanine Pirro was going off on it.
I don't know who that is.
Fox News drunk bitch. Supposedly a former judge. I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she's crazy. Had literally been rebuked by and reprimanded by her superiors at Fox. And it's
good for Fox, I guess.
Yeah. At least being like, okay, you're getting a little crazy for us.
I did see something. I don't know if it's true or not. That I thought was interesting, and I should have taken an effort to look it up. It was a tweet that somebody had put out that basically was showing your major news outlets and their online formats, and it was like ONN, Fox News, and one other of the right-leaning major news players. Most of their articles are free when you go online with them. Mm-hmm. Then you have like Wall Street Journal, New York Times argue. The argument from this guy, not mine, but the argument from this guy is that all these other ones are you've used your free articles for the year or whatever. And it's like, well, what do you expect people to do if they're getting all their news from the free websites because they can't get their real news, quote unquote, from the reputable journalists? Like, why do you think people are reading it? Why do you think people are believing it when they refuse to pay for it, which most people do? So the only story they get to see on it, if they've already used up their New York Times freebies, is the Fox News version of the story. And I don't know if it's true on the pay models and stuff like that, but it's a reasonable thought experiment to me, at least.
I mean, Fox News, I could maybe argue. I mean, they're still considered a major outlet, and OEN's growing, but I would say they have an unavowed conservative leaning.
Okay, you're sure. Either way, but if so, Fox News is okay. What would you consider the major news players? CNN, Fox News, New York Times, USA Today.
I mean, you're talking about news networks talking about like newspapers. New York Times. They don't have.
But most of the
have a news network.
Right, but most of the networks do essentially a print version. Like WBIR does it here. You get any WBIR story, they just have a transcript with the video. Knox News does the same thing if there's a video or not.
A story, yes.
But that's what I'm saying. And so if I can go to Fox News and get the story, quote unquote, which is just a transcript of the report that they did on the show, but that's my news source because I can get it for free because I can't get the New York Times version of the same story because I don't pay for it. And so at least according to this guy and his tweet, the only free articles you're going to get are right-leaning sources. All the center or left-leaning organizations.
I mean, there's all sorts of free news outlets out there. I would disagree.
Okay, I know. I mean, I know you're Reuters and not Reuters, but
I like Reuters. But even Reuters, I think, has a limit.
Yeah,
it's just still
AP.
supposedly
You're
free.
an AP
I just
guy,
don't want
that's
to sign up for it. Like I think it's still free. Like whenever you sign up for it, but
you don't want your info on the internet.
I just don't want to get that much more like junk email.
Oh man, just live a day a day in my phone, buddy.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's so bad. Like I need to get this right because I'm going to tell the story. I'm sure the family.
Like I still get my shit, and then that's even with me trying to stay out of as much shit as I can.
I have at least 7 different emails that come to my phone. 8, 9 emails that come to my phone. Separate email addresses that come to my phone. And I hate the red. I hate the red circle with the number. Like if I've got an.
What the fuck's that?
Like when you have emails with you.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Like that thing gets up into triple digits every once in a while. I freak out, and so I have to at least go through and delete all the ones.
There's a reason they did that on phones.
Yeah, and I freak out, and I have a couple that I can't get rid of. My Gmail, one of my Gmail ones is just like there's 1,700. I can't get under 1,700. I will delete emails for hours.
Oh shit.
And I cannot get it under 1,700. I will delete. I've spent like hours, literally hours, like watching a show and just highlight, delete, while I'm watching something. So I'm not even paying attention to what I'm deleting anymore, and it's still 1,700.
I had a weird week where it might have been like last week. There was at least like 4 or 5 days, and I check my email every couple days, but there was literally nothing popping up in my junk email. And usually there was at least like 4 or 5. Like,
oh yeah, I don't even look at that. I don't even
Home
go
Depot, blah blah blah. Like Amazon order confirmation. Like we tried to ship your shipment. Please confirm. Just like straight up, just like junk trash.
Yeah, I mean in my phone
calls
calls
I was
thing,
like nothing.
all my racist ass telemarketers that won't talk to me in Spanish.
Like, wait, what's going on? Huh?
That is kind of weird.
Nothing.
That would be weird.
Did somebody finally take me off that mailing list?
I mean, some of like some of the AI now is doing it for you, and I've had a couple that have been problematic that have gotten set into junk that weren't junk.
Yeah. It was funny. Somebody came to the door a few days ago at the house, and I kind of like opened the main door with the little glass kind of screen door. Not really a screen door, but
Storm door.
Storm door, yeah. So I was like, I just kind of like waved my hand out and was like, I think so. No.
Come on, man. Let them do their thing. It gives you content to come on the show with.
Pretty sure he had the same emblem of the guy that came through a few days ago.
Oh, the bugs guys?
Maybe.
I had a separate company come out since the last conversation we had about it. So I've had 2 now. Apparently
I got the immediate thought that like it's somebody trying to sell shit. Like if it was somebody in politics, I actually would have probably been like, hey, like, oh, I actually want to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Right, I'm not going to vote. They're not coming to your house.
95% certain like this was somebody selling shit.
Yeah, well, and to be frankly honest,
stop you like, hey, bye, no, go away.
No campaign is coming to your door, not for you at least. They might come for your parents.
All right.
Well, you're not your parents anymore anyway. Did you move up to Ridge?
Almost. Not yet.
Oh, I thought it already happened. My bad. Yeah, they might come for your parents. They're not coming for you because you don't vote.
Right.
So, yeah, that's that part. Anyway, what were we talking about before that? Oh, debates. Yeah, I think RFK should be on the stage. I think Cornel West and Jill Stein should be on the stage for that matter. And they are way lower on the criteria list. But I think RFK should be. I mean, he's polling at 15+% regularly.
But I think that was part of it as well. Because I thought one article that I read that like he basically was below like 2 different metrics. That he wasn't on enough states to meet that metric of the 180 something or whatever.
270.
270, yeah.
And he wasn't polling high enough. Well, there was.
He was also wasn't polling because I think you have to poll high enough in like 3 or 4 like
of what CNN considers
reputable.
Right, of what CNN considers reputable polling.
It's what most people consider reputable.
I don't know what I mean.
Ipsos polls and stuff like that are common metrics that you see cited by left and right.
I'm not saying that. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, but like,
okay, we just threw that in there. Like, well, what CNN accepts?
I mean, it is a squishy term because yes, it technically, by the way they wrote it, is but what CNN accepts as it's not like a list that all the major news outlets together said these are reputable polls. It's
That's still a debate they're putting on.
It's right. We're going to say
I agree. It's outside of I guess what was the official debate thing, but this is one CNN's putting on. As far as I know, I don't really know.
Okay,
I think it's just a straight up like CNN thing.
Sure, it is. But it's on. It's going to be on NBC
next week. Yeah.
So I don't understand how that works. There's 2 commercials. I know that was agreed upon by both campaigns.
The
2
CNN
commercial breaks.
Not going to be on CNN.
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be on CNN 2, but I've
Wait, CNN 1 or CNN 2?
Ha ha. I don't know, but I will argue this one to death. Okay, sure, CNN's a private. Like we're going to go that argument. They're a private company. They can produce a show however they want to. Sure, but if they're trying to put this out as an informational session for you and I, the voter, I fully believe that RFK Jr. should be there. If they're going to put if it's a serious debate with really serious, like these are the issues and these are the people who are asking for your vote, I think at least RFK should be there. Yes.
Maybe they looked at it as who are basically the 2 choices most likely,
because
we have at least a 70% certainty. I'll give the RFK
right
thing.
Because we have a busted ass system that only lets one of 2 players win because they have to be part of the parties to even have a shot at it, and so propagate the system as it stands. Sure, if that's the argument you want to make, then yes, then CNN is complicit in that play. I'm
saying they're looking at fucking reality.
Okay,
at this point, it stands, you think RFK?
Okay,
if the election was today, you think RFK has a solid chance of getting elected?
No, he doesn't.
Okay, so, but you advocate for him.
Okay, so
being on the debate.
How do we ever get out of a place where it's only one of 2? By excluding any of the 3s constantly over and over again. That there is no chance of a third option, or we just say, okay, this is it. This is the only way it's ever going to work, and we accept that. And so to not encourage any sort of future change or any sort of hope for the future that we might have any other option. Because, I mean, again, on those same list of polling companies that they respect, right, that they accept as official ones, I'll bet you most of those polling companies have polls that say 70-something, 80% of their polling don't want either one of these candidates to be their president.
This is true.
So what does that say? Well, maybe it's time for a third-party option to have some real coverage and have a real shot at this. And I think RFK sucks, for the record. And I don't want him to be president either.
So, in that bundled up thought right there, we're going to say, hey, I'm going to criticize CNN for putting up just 2 people, 2 shitty people.
Right.
But I'm also going to criticize you for not putting up a third shitty person.
That's the same criticism.
Not doing
that's the same criticism one time, yes.
Well, no, just for not adding in another shitty person because they might get elected as well.
Yes.
So, I agree with the sentiment that like
maybe
the disillusionment in the state in which we are in. I will heartfeltly agree with you.
Because okay, all right, let's talk theoretical reality for a second. Okay, theoretically, what would happen if RFK did win, with where everything else sits right now?
Right.
We don't have I'm sure there's some other independents running for some Senate seats and some House seats around the country. I'm sure there's some.
I'd be concerned about his VP, but go ahead.
Who's who? Oh, the rich ass lady, the rich divorcee that he's got. His RFK's VP. Yeah. She's like she got all her money from divorcing the guy that was the.
I don't know anything about that.
I agree. I don't remember parts and pieces of it, but I thought I remember her wealth. Most of her wealth was from She divorced like a tech guy. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yes, I'm more. I don't like him as a candidate, but that's not the point. So let's say he did win. Somehow the impossible happens, and he goes out there, and so many this 80% of the population that doesn't want Trump or Biden shows up at the polls and actually votes that way. It won't happen. You're right. But let's just, for conversation's sake, let's pretend like it did. How do you think the RFK presidency would go? How successful do you think he would be at implementing anything?
Not well.
I agree. So,
I mean, Trump came in as an outsider.
Sure. How successful was he at implementing anything? And he had the party badge and the majority of the House and Senate when he first took office.
So I wanted to kind of ask you about it. I don't know if you heard much about Project 2025.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'd be curious to know more about it. You can tell me all about it if you like. In a second, would you? Can we finish our thought experiment first?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just saying, okay, so he would be a lame duck from the get-go. He would accomplish nothing he's trying to accomplish. We would have the continued grinding gears of nothing actually happening from our House and Senate and federal government that we've had for the last how long? I mean, realistically, we were talking about this last week in executive orders. Executive orders are happening more often because of how, at least one of the arguments, at least, is that we have such an ineffectual legislative process anymore because it's, this constant infighting and nothing ever really happens out of it and stuff like that. So on the surface, nothing changes in this theoretical. We're still in the same spot. We at least have a president that the majority of Americans don't hate. And more importantly to me, the idea of I have to vote for the R or D dies. You don't think which part? Which part?
Sorry, I was about to push back on that most of America. Well, I guess I would agree with most America doesn't like.
Right.
The polling numbers, but then that's also
or maybe a better way to do it
when you put them up
against each other alone.
Right.
Maybe a better way to put it that they dislike less. We have the one president that people dislike less. That's an option on the table currently.
Yeah.
Or what? I don't know. However double negative you want to make that statement, it's gross no matter how you put it, and that's that was the point I was trying to put across. And so to me, because I probably am going to end up voting for RFK for that point. I want some other guy who is...
What's it got to be a guy?
Or lady. Or non-binary. I don't give a shit. Some other person who says, okay, there's a play here. I can make this run. And there's a chance. There's a shot. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility that my collective philosophy on how the government should operate and stuff like that I can get out in front of the people and I can tell them how I want to do stuff and how I think things should be done. And it doesn't fit into this R&D mold. And I actually have a chance of going somewhere. And more importantly, not for the president's office, but for all the other offices. That, to me, is where the actual change comes from. And that's why, it's one of those things that the Libertarian Party and the people that I follow in the Libertarian Party that talk about a lot. It's why is the Libertarian candidate so important for president? Because, functionally, it's oxymoronic to want to be the president of the United States if you're a Libertarian. Because, if you're a super hardcore Libertarian, you don't think the president of the United States needs to exist. You know what I'm saying? So it's a oxymoronic thing. But at least the philosophical, movement part of the argument is, for us to have any chance to get libertarians into local small government stuff, to try to trim down small government overtaking in state governments and get all these things and to try to do the things that libertarians want to do in reducing the size and scope and function of government down to the necessities instead of everything in our fucking daily lives and shit like that, we need to get people in place. The best way we're going to get people in place is not starting from every city council, every county commission, every state legislature. It's you start at the top, and then everybody nationally says, oh, wait, that's actually a viable way to get there. And that's why I'm going to vote for RFK. That, to me, I don't like RFK. I think he fucking sucks. But that's why I'm going to vote for RFK.
It's just
because I want a 20
phrase
I want to
vote for him, but he fucking sucks.
I want a 20 or 25 out of him. I want both the Republicans and the Democrats to be pitching a fit. Whichever one loses, it's I would have been the president if it wasn't for that guy.
Whichever, it would be both losing.
If he wins, I'm just saying he's not going to win. I agree with you on that. But I want whoever loses to go, holy shit, that dumb shit Kennedy crazy psycho went in there and ruined my chance to be president again. Because that's a true statement for both the candidates.
I definitely think it would change the playbook for, both of the major parties.
I would hope so.
After a win of an RFK.
Right, and I would hope so, because I would hope it would because okay, so I think a very perfect example is of it having talked to Becky Massey and Monica Irvine, and looking at them and going, like, 100% as objectively as I can look at that as possible. Monica's fucking crazy. She believes it, and that's fine. I respect her for her viewpoint, but that is not what I believe District 6 wants to represent them. I do not believe that represents District 6. Maybe that's what I way to put it. I don't believe it. Certainly doesn't represent me or you or your parents or my parents who are District 6 voters. But she doesn't have to convince District 6 to win. She just has to prevent that small window of Republicans. Because if she gets through the primary, she will beat DeMonica. I guarantee it. She will not. The Republican will win District 6. Because of the system that we are stuck in. And if an RFK can win or make a real huge, like 30, 32%, something like that, some crazy number, actually get electoral college votes because he actually wins a couple states and gets real weird, and then we have this whole, like, what if nobody gets to do 70 conversation and how that works. If an RFK can upset the apple cart that hard, that is a win. Because that will take a Monica Irvine character out of play.
I've never heard the perspective floated of what would happen if there were 3 candidates going to the presidential. Because most primaries and stuff, you go to a runoff. Because multiple, and then
with the two-party system as it
majority, or
right?
whatever.
But with the two-party system as it stands, and that all but 3 states are winner takes all.
Something like that. I don't know exactly.
It's very unlikely that with a popular candidate, like with a candidate that's going to win 20% of the popular vote, it's most likely that they're going to win 20% of the popular vote across the board, and so they're never going to win a state by itself.
It was a draw. I can't remember.
It's not like Perot was going to win Texas because that's his home state against the other Texan that was in the race, but whatever. But if he won Texas, it's theoretically possible. Like, he could have won Texas as his home state. And then would Clinton have gotten to the 280, past the 270 that he needed if he didn't have Texas? It's theoretically possible, but again, with the way that we do the Electoral College thing, it's unlikely that if you're going to get 20% of the popular vote, you're not going to average much more than that across any state. So you're never going to win a single state.
Yeah.
It would be awesome, and it'd be crazy, and I'd love to see the constitutional fucking meltdown that happens when that goes down.
I'm trying to remember what state it was. It might have been more than one, because in the recent years there's been a couple states that have gone to.
It's like Oklahoma.
Alaska. Would you?
Sorry,
let me.
I'm sorry.
What do you think I'm talking about?
There's the Oklahoma one that they do.
Oklahoma does what?
That they do where there's they were trying to change some shit because there's one county.
I think it's Nebraska.
Right. There's one county that's super left, and the rest of the state is.
It's like Omaha.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, Alaska. My bad.
What
I interrupted. I apologize. I'm sorry.
So let's talk about ranked choice voting.
I love ranked choice voting.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad that you wanted to talk about something that I was about to say that you thought I was going to be talking about. Sorry, just got to give.
No, you're right. Give me shit.
Got to give you shit when I can.
I realize that we go for 2 hours,
You are mostly right.
I do 75 minutes to 90 minutes of our 2 hours every week. So I acknowledge that I talk a fucking lot, and so. Go ahead, please.
You were just trying to. You were just trying to prepare your point. I understand.
I was trying to roll with you, and I just rolled the wrong way. Go ahead. Ranked choice voting. It's cool. Get it.
Well, I was remembering the story. There was at least 1 or 2 states. Yeah, recently that were trying to kind of repeal it, or there was big pushback, I guess, because they had recently voted it in. But they were, some of the major parties, I think, were trying to kind of take away some of that power of the ranked choice voting. I know Alaska, I think, passed it in the last 2 or 3 years, possibly.
I mean, yeah.
But I think there are other states that were, I think, almost preemptively It might have been a state that was trying to preemptively outlaw
ranked choice voting. You remember earlier when I was like making the joke about like why would a California or Minnesota hurry up and approve a ballot access to a third-party candidate when it's not good for them?
Okay.
For politically speaking, this is the same. It's the same thing. Like the parties don't like ranked choice voting because they lose, and it's not to each other. It is to each other, but it's not always to each other. That it opens up the option. You and I,
it would totally change their game plan.
You and I get better representation in ranked choice voting than we do in the current system. We just would. Because it would change. It changes the way you. It changes because it changes the game plan. It forces you to campaign differently. It forces you to campaign to your entire district instead of to your party.
Right.
Because ranked choice voting doesn't care. Like, okay, so on the District 6 Senate race, we have 3 candidates. If we did ranked choice voting, part 1. You said no.
I said yeah.
Oh, my bad. I thought you said no. Thank you. That's all I got. Oh, you have another one in there? My bad, bro. I didn't mean to insult your sweet, sweet Ohio beer.
I did silently say, like, oh, there's one more in there.
Ah, my bad. My man likes his sunken ship porter or whatever it's called. That is Ohio Brewery, right? It's your Ohio beer?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go up there?
No.
Oh. I told you when I went to West Virginia last time. I went to West Virginia last time to pick up the gun cases and that whole thing. No, not the.
I went with you.
No, not that. The time before that. Sorry, when I took the kid with me. Yeah. I stopped at the liquor store and the grocery store, and they had Great Lakes, but they didn't have. No, I couldn't find that one.
Yeah,
they had the Great Lakes Lager, or one of their more generic. Like I was really mad. I was going to get you. I was going to bring you a case back.
They've got one that's
maybe
really
IPA.
Good. I think it's one award. It's like a Dortmund something.
I don't know. I was looking for the porter that you like, and they didn't have it, and I was really mad. Anyway, yes, because ranked choice voting, it's because so to run down the theoretical, if we had ranked choice voting, there's 2 great things about ranked choice voting. 1, we don't have primaries anymore because there's no point. And so Becky, Monica Irvine.
Wait, would it really?
Yeah, you don't do why would you do a primary? You don't need to do a primary. It's one election. Full stop.
The primary still gets you on the ballot.
No, well, if the party wants
one way of I guess maybe narrowing down.
If the party
for the party's sake,
if the party wants to limit it, they can do that on their own. They could so again in the state of Tennessee as it sits right now, if the party wanted to, they could close primaries, which they don't and they haven't, but they could. That's one way, and so they can make the primary about they could force the primary to be a restrictive factor like that, or they could caucus and select who they're going to have run under the Republican banner. But if you want to pull it doesn't matter how many people are running. If you pull a petition to run for a seat, and so for example, to stay on the District 6, so there's 2 ways that it would go down. Way 1 would be the Republican Party would caucus and decide whether Becky or Monica would be their candidate to run for the seat, and they could decide that privately. They could pay the election commission to do a primary for them, but it's unlikely that they would do that because it's expensive. So most of the times when we have primaries, they're involved with they're inside other things so that they can share that, they can spread that cost out. Is it 3-0? We're going to force a game 7. These sons of bitches.
Looks like
it was 3-0 Florida, right?
Huh?
In the series?
Yeah.
Florida went up 3-0? Okay.
Yeah, it's still, yeah.
All right. We'll come back to our hockey coverage in a second, people. Sorry. I told you we were watching the game, and we're getting distracted every once in a while. I'm watching it in mirror in the window.
Oh, I was like, you're still looking at me. I was like, how'd you know they just scored?
So if the parties want to do it that way, they could, where they can restrict who runs under their banner on their own. It doesn't become a public issue, and they could do it as a ballot issue, but it would be a private ballot issue in the sense that whether they caucus and the party members go to a room and yell at each other or whatever, or they put it on a primary ballot, that's a separate thing. And so, yes, we could still have primaries in the system, but when we get to a general, if you have more than 2 candidates, Ranked choice voting but it would encourage more candidates. That's part of what the thing is too. But either way, so in the current one, I would think
right. That was my only kind of like weird thing. And ranked choice would promote more people, but at the same time, you would think at least some of the parties
would restrict it.
I mean, that's try to like narrow it down a little bit to be like, let's pick our few best to promote.
Right, but strategically, if you're the party, you go, okay, well, again, I'll stick with 6 or 6. So you have, if we're doing ranked choice, and you have Monica and Becky on the ballot, and you're the party, are you better? Because it was one thing, so ranked choice, number one in ranked choice is you have to get 50+% of the vote, right? You cannot win without 50+1. That is how ranked choice works. For example, if we have 3 people on the ballot...
Oh, you could have some really crazy odds.
No. Functionally, the way ranked choice works, if you have 3 people on the ballot, if you had a 33, a 34, and a 33%, then you get a little weird because you have a tie. If you have a 35, a 35, and a 30... You're going off a 3-person...
Sure.
If that's I'm just using an example. If it's not a runoff, it's a ranked choice.
Ranked choice, like we said, ranked choice could be a plethora of people.
It could. And yes, mathematically, you could have some weird tie stuff in the bottom of the barrel. But
so I'm right.
But so ranked choice... It would suck for the election commission. I'm sure Chris Davis would hate it.
Right.
But ranked choice, so in the example we have... So in District 6, I would think you would have the potential of having a 35, a 35, and a 30, right?
Yeah.
So who's more likely to be your 30, would you think? In a District 6, 2 Republicans and a Democrat. I would wager that one of the Republicans would be your 30.
Right.
Right? And so the assumption would be that most of those Republicans, number 2 is the other Republican. So strategically, if you're a Republican, you have more than one Republican in the race, you're statistically more likely to get a Republican win. Because you're not worried, it's not a runoff, it's not a new election, it's literally everybody that voted for, let's say, Monica, and Monica loses, all of their votes, almost all of them presumably would go to Becky.
Right.
They wouldn't go across the aisle to Dominica.
Right.
It would be logically
Becky, then Massey, and then
right. So my point is that strategically for the party, you don't want like 7 Republicans running for the same seat, but 2 is not of that. Like you wouldn't want to restrict it. You wouldn't necessarily want to restrict it if you had 2 people running for the seat. Strategically.
Yeah, you'd have to find that fine edge of having enough in there, but not wanting to have too much, so that you're going to kind of split that up too much.
But even still, like, okay, so if you had 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat running, 4 Republicans get in the 15% or so each, 15, 30, 45, 60. The Democrat gets 40% of the vote. And all 4 Republicans split 60%. As you break those down, most likely most of those votes are still going to Republicans. So I think strategically you wouldn't care.
Yeah, in ranked choice, yeah.
You could flood the field with 10 Republicans and 1 Democrat, and it's not a disadvantage to the Republicans in that case. You're going to get the best Republican that represents the district, though.
Right.
And that's good for me and you.
I mean, that's under the assumption, and more likely than not, it's going to happen, that people are going to pick, specifically just party. And pick one party going down in their choices,
right? And so, but I think more importantly, what you and I will end up with is the better version of that Republican field. If there's 5 Republicans and 1 Democrat, we're gonna end up with probably the best Republican out of that set, instead of the most right Republican, because that's how this current format works. The furthest right Republican, the furthest left Democrat are the ones that are winning primaries.
Yeah,
the centrists don't win primaries because you're not Republican enough, or you're not Democrat. You're a fucking rhino. That, to me, is why ranked choice voting is needed. Needs to happen on every ballot. And because I think it would, and I think again, if you open up
I guess locally that would make sense. But I mean, when you start kind of getting into the bigger races,
same thing.
You have outside. That's when you have like outside money coming into it. Is how much do those then influence? Nowadays, social media, it's all about exposure. It's not hard to crank out that name enough that increases your likelihood of that person getting voted.
Sure. But what does that do to? I mean, I don't think. Why would that change the efficacy of ranked choice voting?
And I would say that because then it comes down to more to exposure versus actual merit.
How is that any different than how it currently is?
So I think more locally, you're getting a little bit less exposure.
Yeah, because people don't pay attention to local elections. It's not because the exposure, it's not because the attempt of exposure isn't there. There's like Knox County Commission races spend tens of thousands of dollars in advertising.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not nothing. It's enough money in the market, in the local marketing game, that you're going to get eyeballs.
True.
I don't think I don't know. Personally, I think ranked choice voting is one of the many solutions that needs to get in play. I think that would be a very significantly effectual one. I think we shift the conversation to the presidential race. I think it'd be an interesting. I think people would be more willing to take a chance on a third party player as their number one, knowing because think about like the guy that I was referencing that was on the news earlier. I was saying that he was like, I want to see Biden talk for 90 minutes without notes and have to think on his feet, literally, because they're not allowed to sit down. But to think on his feet literally, and how he responds to that is going to make my decision for who I'm voting for. Right. So that guy, well, if he's got a ranked choice ballot in front of him, and let's say Biden duffs it, and Biden's terrible in the debate, and it's really obvious to this individual that there's something wrong mentally with Joe Biden, to this guy, right? And so if he has ranked choice ballot, he's going to say, I still don't want to vote for Trump. I'm going to vote for RFK, I'll vote for RFK and I'll put Biden as number 2. RFK does what is expected in the 20% range, drops the vote. That guy's vote ends up going to Biden anyway. He doesn't feel bad about taking a risk or a protest vote, like that protest vote people that are out there. It gives those protest vote people, it's less of a protest vote then. It's like, I'm going to vote for RFK 1, and then I'll vote for Trump 2, because at the end of the day, I think Trump's, it's one of the things that they do on the ballots or on the polling all the time, right? They say on the polling, they say, who would you, if the election was,
sorry, Messier's jacket's weirding me out.
It's a little velvet action.
Totes.
It's nice. It's good looking.
Skinny.
He does. He's got some cancer or something like that, I'm sure.
Sorry.
I don't like PK as a commentator. I don't really like.
I didn't care for him as a person.
He didn't seem like he wasn't a great player. I mean, he's a black guy and he plays hockey, so that's exciting. He was good, but he wasn't that good. Like he wasn't like a.
He wasn't great. No, he was good.
I don't think he got. I think he. The racist statement. Here we go. I think he got more credit for being a very good black guy in the NHL.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? All right. I haven't watched it. I haven't kept up with hockey. That's a bad. All right. I apologize. I'm racist. Whatever.
He was a good player. He was just. He wasn't quite to the level of like Marchand. So we totally switched topics here.
No, we did. We said we were watching the hockey game. This is the result of watching a hockey game in the background. While we were
I don't think he was quite to the point of like a pest, but he could be a pest at times.
I mean, he has a hell of a slap. He has a hard shot. I don't remember. I saw this stat the other day. A significant percentage of his goals were on power play, because he would be the point guy on the power play that would just blast. So he had a hard shot, so with the man advantage, his hard shot was a double the advantage, because he didn't in regular 5-on-5 play, he didn't get the opportunities to put what he was best at out there, because you don't get those opportunities to really wind up and whack one in 5-on-5.
You're on defense. You're not supposed to be super offensive,
right? But his best offense was when he had space, and he only had space in penalty and when he was on the power play. Anyway, sorry, tangent. If the presidential ballot, as we look at it right now, I'm probably voting for RFK. Right, as things stand right now, I'm probably voting for RFK anyway, and I don't like him either. But if I was one of those people that was like, God, I like if I were one of those people that's like I like Biden. I think Biden had the potential to be, but I think he's old and he's fucking losing his shit. I cannot imagine that it's going to be good for me or the country at large if this dementia patient is our president. Those people are out there, right? But while I'm presenting this person, that same person is like, but fucking Trump is crazy. And so, like, I cannot vote for Biden. I cannot put myself in a position where I want Biden to be the president. But I really don't want Trump to be the president either. I'm going to pick RFK Jr., and then I'm going to put Trump as my number 2.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and again, and you're right. I think the more important thing that you're right about is that ranked choice voting changes the way you campaign, changes politics in the function, changes how you go out there and ask for votes. Because it discourages the right-left extremists and encourages the centrists.
Right.
And I think that is the advantage. Like, that is what we as a nation need.
I need to advertise myself to everyone.
Right. Because I don't, I can win, if I win that far-left vote, if I win the super far-left vote, that's only 20%. And that's not enough to get me through the first round of cutoff.
Yeah.
And so I have to win at least some of the center too. So I can't lean that hard left, or I'm going to get knocked off in the ranked choice round. I mean, we do ranked choice here.
I want to say the first time I ever heard about ranked choice voting, I want to say they gave it an example of like Ireland possibly, and it was getting down to like 6 and 7 rounds as far as them like going through names, compiling, like going through the first selection and like separating all like the first, second, third choice, and then,
there's different ways to do it too, and I think that's one of the things that gets to people. Knox County Commission does ranked choice voting. It's a weird format of it,
really. But
when I did that stupid health department public liaison thing, it was a version of ranked choice voting. So people would put up a candidate, right? So people would nominate somebody, and so we had like 5 people. Right, and then they would go around the commission, and everybody would vote. And if you didn't have a 50% winner, you would take the lowest vote person out, or like in my case, 0, and a couple other people 0, until we were down to 3 people, and then we'd go around the room again. And then they would vote for the 3 people that were left. And then if one of those 3 people didn't get 50%, they'd knock off the lowest one, and they would do it again. But they would vote every single time. Where I think the way Maine does it is that it's literally you write 1, 2, 3 on the ballot, and then the computer does all the work, and so it doesn't take any amount of time.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, well, ranked choice voting, we all went out and voted on Tuesday, we tallied up all the things, here's who's left, come vote again tomorrow. It's all day of. You don't have to do, like, again, the commission did it in rounds of voting. You don't have to do it that way. That's just the way they do it. But for commission's sake, it's 9 people going through 5 people, and it's a quick little circle of things. But if it was on a ballot, if it was a ballot thing that you and I were doing, whether it was county, state, or federal, it would be, some sort of, pick your 1, 2, 3, however many total,
Right.
Write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you'd load it into the scanner, and the scanner would do its thing, and it would automatically go, okay, we had 100,000 votes come in, 40,000 for this person, 30,000 for this person, blah, 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 so on and so forth. The last person gets cut off. All those people that got knocked off, all the people that voted for the person that got knocked off in that first round, who was their number 2 pick, we add those to those. Do we have a 50+%? No. Then we knock off a person who had it as their second or third pick from here, and that's how you'll get it's automatable super fast. It shouldn't take any longer than regular voting. Again, it should take less time because you're not going to have a primary.
I'm assuming this was done by hand.
In some places, and historically, right? The Irish one you're talking about, yeah,
right,
probably.
Like
in that particular one,
I want to say they were going to have like the old school like mailbox, like where you're looking at like 100 different like small like mail slots. where you're kind of doing that whole thing. Like, all right, we got this one that's like a whole bunch, like 1 1 1 1 1 1. Okay, 2 2 2 2 2 2 2. These are threes.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's that. But it's the same idea. It's just, I mean, we could do it more efficiently for sure. And honestly,
in this day and age, yeah, probably.
Right, and honestly, with the way the computers and the scanning machines work, it's just a matter of making a machine that does it.
Yeah.
Like it. I mean, I don't know how. Like, I mean, it would probably be something like we have the Scantron basically that we do now, right? That's what. Like,
it's been a while.
Sorry. Yes, current balances are they're square, but they're Scantrons. You fill in the square next to the person. It's not a circle, but you scribble in the square. And so what it would probably be again, let's use the District 6 race. You would have alphabetically Dominica Bryant, Monica Irvine, Becky Massey, because that's alphabetically in order, right?
Yep.
And so you'd have them vertically 1, 2, 3, and then next to them you would have 3 bubbles. Each one of them would have 3 bubbles next to them. The left column would be your first pick. The middle column would be your second pick. The right column would be your third pick. And so bubble in one next to each name. The left column being your most wanted, your middle column being your second most wanted, your left column being your third most wanted. And then load it in the machine. And then the machine says, okay, we got 20,000 votes. We have 20,000 ones for Becky Massey. We have 20,000 ones for Domenico. We have 10,000 ones for Monica Irvine. Drop the Monica Irvine off the list. Everybody that had Monica Irvine for 1, what was their 2? Yeah. And then once we get over 50%, you then have a winner.
Yeah, so the NHL does like some of their awards.
I mean, it's like some of probably the best voting thing I can think of. Like my favorite voting system, I think, is the poker of the year, poker player of the year. The way they do theirs, because it's like all the pros get a letter, and you get 2 votes, and you write in your 2 people that you want to win, and only one of them can be yourself. So they assume everybody writes themselves in, and so basically they take the second line off of everybody's ballot. And whoever's name's written the most time is number 2, because everybody writes himself as number 1. That's the assumption of that ballot. I always love that. I thought that was the most smartest, genius, low-tech election process.
There's another organization that does it kind of like that. That does include like former players or former participants. But I know at least in the NHL,
there's some like MVP stuff like that. Like all the old MVPs get to vote.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not sure either, but I know. I feel like I know what you're referencing. But
yeah, I can't remember exactly. I know at least for like the Norris Trophy and like some of the major ones they do for the NHL. Or no, yeah, I think maybe it is like a collection of votes of like the PPA, the Players whatever association.
The participating players protection per thingy. All right, since we're doing a sports show, you been watching Copa or the Euros at all?
No, I keep meaning to like try to look at like the highlights of the Euro. I know I think there was a big game today. Like Netherlands, somebody else.
France, Netherlands. Mbappe was out because he broke his face.
Did he play?
Nope.
He didn't play today?
Nope.
That was a little big thing. Like I thought like he was going to wear the mask.
He was eligible to play. He was prepared to play, but they sat him, and they ended up drawing. Netherlands did score a goal, but it got pulled back on the video review of offsides.
I heard like they may bring him in as like a substitute, but he may not play the whole game.
Yeah, that's basically what they did. I thought that was today.
But he didn't play?
He did not. He ended up not playing because I guess France in the way they sat in group play, France was good with the draw, and so since the Netherlands goal in like the 72nd minute, Netherlands scored, but it got pulled back, and so like and then it got to like the 85th minute, and at that point France was controlling most of the game, and so it's like might as well just let him sit, make sure we don't soften that nose for him.
Yeah,
I love that's my favorite. Like I like the sport in general, but national tournaments are my favorite. I don't like. I like a lot of like
the Euros fun to watch.
Euros are fun to watch, and the World Cup. Copa's getting there. I'm excited. I'm gonna watch the U.S. game on Saturday. I'm gonna watch some UT baseball on Saturday as well. I thought that was tonight for some reason. I had it in my head that game is tonight. But we've got some UT baseball, and I'm gonna watch some Copa. I'm gonna watch U.S. men's team do their thing against Bolivia. But yeah, the Euros. I mean, the Euros is as good as it gets, though. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess Copa. Copa's got its because
definitely
South
a step
American
down
teams
from the World Cup, but not a big step down.
Right. I mean, because most of the teams that are major players in the World Cup are in
Europe
or in the Euros. Your Argentinas and your Brazils are really the only teams you're missing.
Right.
You know, the U.S. squad every once in a while, but not really. Like there's been hints in here and there's of the U.S. squad being World Cup capable, but not really. Yeah. Mexico's got their years and every once in a while too, but really it's Argentina and Brazil, and then Europe. There's no Asian countries that are really worth a shit. There's no African countries that are worth a shit in the World Cup. You know, I mean, like, well, I'm trying to think. Like, when's the last what you had there's a Nigerian team in the 70s. That got out of the group stage. I think there's been one other African nation that's gotten out of groups
for the
World Cup.
I want to say Senegal made it kind of far not long ago, but I think that might have been the South Africa World Cup.
Maybe
Senegal made it kind of far, but it was kind of one of the like Cinderella stories of them
which is why the World Cup is great. Right. I mean, that's why we love it.
It can come down to one goal.
Yeah. I suck at gambling on soccer. I need to quit. I've been losing them all. I mean, it's whatever. It's for the funnies more than anything.
True.
But yeah, so I don't know. Like, I'm not a baseball fan. I'm certainly not a college baseball fan, but I do like it. There is something fun about the home team making it places like to big tournaments. Yeah, I mean, last time Tennessee got anywhere near any of this was in the 50s.
I mean, I could honestly say that this bullshit has made my life harder the past couple days.
Well, not anymore.
It's true.
Well, I mean, lots of orange T-shirts going out the door.
Not that color, no.
Burgundy?
It's black shirts.
I do like dark mode. I do like UT dark mode stuff. I've got a dark mode UT shirt I love.
It's bullshit of like the coach kissing a bat. I don't get it, and I don't want to get it.
Then don't worry about it. I don't get it, and I don't know how to. I don't know how to correct that for you. So tell me something weird. I was thinking about this real quick before you start.
Yeah.
I am just a downer on the news of the weird, and I apologize to everybody, but I'm going to continue to be a downer. I'm not changing me. I'm just putting it out there. I apologize for always being a downer on the news of the weird, but I'm not going to stop. Just saying.
Well, I mean, some of the news of the weird are just kind of like that weird / like stupid stories. And
yeah, but
that's probably like me, like picking like those weird, like this is kind of stupid, but also weird.
I can't help myself though. Like it's just like, what was it last week? I got all bent out of shape about.
I don't remember exactly.
It's like it was the lady suing about the pistachio ice cream thing.
Oh,
it's just so like it's so dumb to me. Like I can't be like. That's not funny. Like it's not weird. It's just stupid. Like, and you're right. I guess that's what it's like. It is stupid that this exists. It's part of me says like it's stupid that the AP is running that story. Like we don't need to. We don't need these people to have any attention for their dumb life choices to sue over fucking pistachio flavored ice cream not having any actual pistachios in it. Unless they literally said this pistachio ice cream includes pistachios. Then I don't understand the fucking lawsuit. Because right. Sorry.
At times, I mean, some of these news organizations are literally, in this day and age, and them trying to stay relevant, they're literally reporting on like what is most viral.
Right, click the Haktui girl. Have you seen that one?
The what?
The Haktui girl.
No.
All right. Yeah. It was right here in the great state of Tennessee. Look it up, people. If you haven't heard about the Haktui girl, it's great. It's fantastic.
Haktui girl.
Yeah. It's basically about how to give a good hand job on the street of Nashville.
Oh, okay.
It's become a viral sensation. And it's hilarious. Like, there's been some great stuff. Like, that's the one thing I love about the internet. All right, fine, I have to do it. I'm going to do this I'm going to introduce this story as the news of the weird. Please. So, there's a YouTuber that does it's like a sidewalk interview show where he's just kind of walking down the street, and he's got his little microphone, and he just walks up to people and asks them random question. Right? So he walks up, it's this dude, he's walking down the street, and he stops these two girls in Nashville on Broadway and says, "What's one move in bed that's guaranteed to like blow the guy's mind?" And this girl's fucking hammered. She goes, "Sometimes you gotta go Haktui or spit on that shit." And goes, "Ha ha ha ha," and she kind of just laughs at it, like it's just a ridiculous thing to say. And like it is like in and of itself, it's kind of funny. But then like the internet gets a hold of it, and like there's been some remixes of it that are actually fucking pretty good. Like they're actually like really pretty well done. Like okay, I could dance to this shit. It's like, yeah, and it's like, and it's just it's and then there's a bunch of memes on it and stuff like that. It's like I love the internet for that kind of stuff. Like it's nothing like there's no cultural benefit to any of it. It's just funny, and it's funny to see how the masses will mess with it. I guess to me is the way to put it. It's like the way the masses kind of like take this little mini cultural event and manipulate it into different stuff, and people use their artistic skills and their creativity to turn this silly little thing into a bigger thing. And sometimes it gets out of control and stupid. This one being a good case of it, but some of the out of control and stupid is what's amazing about it. Anyway, News of the Weird by Sam.
Let's see. What the hell is this? Vermont lawmaker apologizes for repeatedly pouring water in her colleague's bag. A Republican state lawmaker from Vermont has apologized for repeatedly pouring water into a Democratic colleague's bag after he caught her doing it on video. What the fuck?
So just pouring shit in there.
Let's see here. House floor. Both are from Bennington. Town of about 15,000 people.
Our best and brightest, everybody.
Yeah. I'm truly ashamed for my actions.
No, you're not. You thought it was funny. I think it's funny, too.
Said of her disrespectful conduct towards Carol. She said she had apologized
towards
directly.
Carol.
That's his last name.
Oh, okay. Carol didn't deserve that. She's a good woman.
Resolution and restoration through our legislative process. That's how you say you're sorry?
Vermont's going to pass a law that says it's illegal for it is illegal for other House members to pour water into your bag.
In response, said he heard the sincerity in her voice, but that he would be frank, saying, "For 5 months I went through this, and Morrissey had a choice each time she did it. It was torment," he said.
Oh my God! Both of them. It's just
that's just a weird thing. Like, I'm gonna pour water. Oh, I've got this ball of water. I don't know where to put it. I'm just gonna pour it in your bag.
All right, to bring in the proper Seth Downer on the situation.
Yeah.
What do you think the makeup of the state house of Vermont is?
Mostly Democratic.
Okay, so this would be Vermont's version of the Tennessee 3, right?
Yes, this is exactly what this is like. Sure.
As far as
no.
The person,
no, you're right. What the fuck are you even talking about?
May I?
Go ahead.
The person pouring the water is the Republican, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, sure. The
equate this to something.
The supermajority of the likely supermajority of Democrats probably doesn't give this Republican the time of day, doesn't give them the opportunity to talk on the floor or whatever, and they act out like a fucking child to try to make a point.
I don't see this.
I mean, it doesn't say it in the story. I'm making inferences, thinking that there was more to it than just I'm pouring water into their bag to be annoying. I'm assuming that there's more to the story than just I was just trying to be an asshole to this person.
Well, a little bit I read, it makes it seem like this wasn't a one-time thing.
Sure, it's a repeated thing. It was 50 something, or it said for months it was 50 something times or something like that.
How about 50?
That's what I thought. They said that the Carol said that
he was being tormented.
They did it over. They did it over 50 times. They made the choice over 50 times to do this. I thought is what the quote was. Whatever. It was months of doing it.
Yeah, it was repeated, I guess.
Okay. Well, at least in the story, it doesn't say whether it's some sort of. It's something. It wasn't inferred in the story that it was personal.
Yeah.
In the sense that it was the Republican person having a personal issue with this Democrat.
Right.
And so I am making the leap that this is a professional childish act. That this is an act and that they're not getting the opportunities.
Equate it to something that Tennessee 3 did. Please.
I took the floor over with a bullhorn. Because they weren't being heard.
Okay. I guess I'm thinking of it. This seems like this was singling out a particular lawmaker. This wasn't a protest or whatever you want to call it, a act of defiance against the opposing party.
Okay, I apologize. You're right. I don't know those details. I would like to hear more on this story. I'm
just trying to find.
I'm making
the semblances that you're saying is what I'm trying to understand.
I'm making a presumptive leap that is on very thin thread. I acknowledge that 100%.
I don't see the equation to.
I'm making
the Tennessee 3.
Okay,
or whatever.
I see the potential for it. I don't see that there's in the story, at least, there is no clear indicators of it. I see the potential for it being a pitch in a fit because you don't get your voice heard, or this is your way of sticking it to the supermajority of your state, or something like that. That's my. I'm fully inferring that without any details.
Okay.
I acknowledge that I'm making shit up.
I appreciate you acknowledging that you're just pulling shit out of your ass.
I'm not pulling shit out of my ass. I'm making
pulling shit out of
I'm
your
making
ass.
a logical leap, but
this
a very
was a
long...
lawmaker that apparently was just pouring water in somebody else's handbag, and you're equating it to using a bullhorn on a floor, which I agree is weird. It's unheard of. This is more directed at least at one particular person. This was, from what little I read, I don't think she was doing it to multiple people.
It's true. I'm sure there's, yeah.
I'm going to guess. This has no legislative thing.
I'm going to guess a couple of the Jones boys have some specific people
was
that
trying
they like
for
listed.
A cause. I have no fucking clue why.
I'm sure Lil was.
She just.
What's the spiky hair dude
got
here
some
in
water
Tennessee?
Left,
Lambert and Sexton and a couple of the major mouthy guys here in Tennessee. I'm sure there's some particular animus between the Jones boys and they're both Jones? I always get them confused. They're both Justins. Sorry, Justins, not Jones. Excuse me. The two Justins and the Lamberts and the Sextons of the world. I'm sure there's some particular animus directly between the two of them.
I'm sure there's a little bit of animosity, but
I'm just saying it's a shitty way to put out your animosity. I'm not excusing the actions. I'm just I'm strongly inferring.
Trying to figure out how you're equating the two to being. Oh, this seems kind of similar.
I didn't say it was the same.
Similar.
It's equatable. You're right. Whatever.
Equatable? Like equal?
Hit the button twice. I'm sorry. I just want to hit the button more than one time to shut you up.
Uh-huh. Recently, before there was gleaming monoliths that somebody put up in the desert in Nevada. They're shiny, I think mirrored.
Okay.
Monoliths.
Yeah.
They don't know where the fuck they came from.
I love it.
I think they've been removed.
Why?
I think I remember seeing this before that I want to say it was an art installation that they had actually tracked it down to someone that had actually put this. But it's in super remote places that you would wonder how the hell they got someone to take this out to a remote location of something this big and heavy.
Right. How'd you get it out there with nobody noticing?
Right.
How did you create it in the first place and get it out of town?
That was one of the stories. They don't know how they got there.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Quickly vanishing structures.
That's the headline. Read the story. Come on. Yeah. AP.
Strange monolith looks like it could have come from another world.
Dun, dun, dun.
Jutting out of the rocks in a remote mountain range near Las Vegas.
Vegas.
The glimmering rectangular prism's reflective surface imitates the vast desert landscape surrounding the mountain peak where it has been erected. But where did the object come from? And is it still there? The mystery the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says it was trying to solve after learning about Monday through a social media post. Las Vegas police on the social platform X said members of the search and rescue team found the otherworldly
They didn't say
object.
formerly Twitter? Did
I
they say
think
X?
they're finally
getting there?
edging away from that. Like, it's taken about a year or so.
I still see a lot of people say tweet. Like,
Oh, no, yeah, it's still kind of common.
they'll say, blah, blah, blah on
I
X
think-
tweeted this. It's like, are you
Yeah.
still tweeting on X? I'm so confused.
Yeah, I think a lot of places
Right.
still,
Anyway,
I
sorry.
think rightfully so. I think a lot of people still don't understand that like it has changed, even though it's been a long time. I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Rip the
Twitter's
Band-Aid
not-
off people. Just
Twitter's not
start
X.
calling it X, and
Like,
people will
Twitter
catch up.
Twitter just got that big that it is still.
I would say, just rip the Band-Aid, just call it X, and people will catch up. It's the only way they're going to catch
they're
up.
working on it, but
It's like us. It's like the U.S. trying to go to kilometers, right?
I want to say it wasn't until recently they actually like disabled like the Twitter like domain or whatever.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I would like to see, like, if like the whole if you want to ever get the U.S. metric, like if you ever want us on metric, just stop making signs in miles. Every new sign that gets put up is in metric, and as you replace signs, you just put them all in metric. No convertible signs, like they tried it for the past where it's like 180 miles, 100 miles, 180 kilometers.
There's probably some
Just-
laws in that.
Just fucking do it. It's the only way it's going to get done. That's the point.
I think there's laws within that.
I'm sure there is. I'm just saying, like, if we actually wanted to complete the task of getting the U.S. onto the metric system, you just do it.
It's not going to happen that easy.
You just say all new signs. All new signs. You don't take signs down until you're going to take them down anyway. All new signs, for the next X number of years. Well, all new signs are in metric, and then over the next 15 years, you replace old signs with metric.
Who does that?
The highway department or whoever does the sign changes, like whoever's in charge of the signs.
Okay.
So I don't know who, like Knox County and the city of Knoxville do their own signage. And so I'm sure you'll have municipalities that push back and do all sorts of shit.
I guess my initial thought that this was like a grassroots effort type thing. Like you just start slowly, just like implementing signs, and it's just,
No, it would have to be like it would have to be a top down. The federal government says we are going to metric people. Deal with it.
that's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Like I said, like I'm sure
if you
there's
wanted
some kind
it,
of like rule in place. That
if
says,
you wanted it to happen, that would have to be the way to do it. That was my point. Not that we would.
Okay.
If we wanted it to actually happen, we would just say we're doing metric now. Full stop. Anyway, one more. You got any more? Is that it? Come on.
Let me see if there's another good one. Why did it close?
Dun, 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 dun. Gotta get something for the camera. Here we go.
What?
I don't know. What? Huh.
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about.
Talking about the Euros. YouTube prankster says he was on the field at Euro 2024 opening ceremony dressed as mascot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Come on. Give me that. Give me that action. Give me that sweet, sweet
In
puns.
Frankfurt, Germany, a German YouTuber said he made it onto the field during the European Championship during opening ceremony while disguised as a mascot costume, an incident which revealed flaws in terminate security. Yeah. Marvin Vidhag published a video appearing to show that he entered the München Stadium last Freitag in a fake costume and danced on the corner of the field before being led away by UEFA staff members.
Okay, so he didn't get away with it.
9.
Okay, so the security was pretty good. They figured. I mean, he got on the field, which is problematic, but the security realized that he wasn't supposed to be there pretty quick.
Wait, you look like a mascot. Wait, hold on.
There's a guy. There's a YouTuber that I've seen a couple videos on where that's his whole thing is he's sneaking into stuff. Like he snuck into the Super Bowl, stuff like that.
I mean, to an extent, at times it's a little bit easier. I mean, if you know like what at least like the hang tag should look, and some of it's all in like how you present yourself.
Right. The balls of just doing it.
Especially like with those people that are just like behind the scenes people. Like, oh,
I belong here. I'm the part of the concession staff, and just you own the role, and people are like,
yeah. There's so many like behind the scenes staff that it's easy to like blend in with.
All right, people, that's the show. What do we do? We want to try to do a remote show next week, or just skip a week?
We can try a remote.
All right. Well, I'll hit you up while we're on. I got to do the Compass show.
Does that
remote
mean I got to come here and do it?
No. You got to have Zoom.
We can talk about
we got a Zoom or something like that. Anyway, we're gonna finish this hockey game off air, and we appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next weekish, baby. We are the Almost in Agreement. We do the Almost in Agreement things. I'm on a weird Norwegian accent because there was the German bad accent by Sam. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know why I'm saying it the way I'm saying it, but I'm gonna keep on talking the way I'm talking. Almost in Agreement, almostinagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostinagreement.com. Check out the cool stuff we got, blah, blah, blah. Check out all the cool stuff we got going on there. Go to CompassKnox.com. Those guys are great if you want real like news stories as opposed to me and Sam talking stupid shit. And go to hollerboo.com and check out what's going on there. Come race a car with us. It's going to be a good time. I'll be hitting you guys up from the beaches of Charleston, where we've got 2 hurricanes in action right now that I'm going to go dance in. And so we'll see how that goes. Actually, one's in the Gulf. It's a different thing. Anyway, tropical storms, hot weather. The world is coming to an end, and I'm going to laugh my way through it. I hope you do too. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks, everybody. Good night.